This video will cover the tools you might need, how to prime your airless paint sprayer, choose an airless tip, and dial in the pressure, how to take a break, store the gun, change materials. So a video for beginners, but if you're not a beginner, please stick around, give your input, and help others out in the comments. My name is Pete. Let's all help each other. Probably the most popular form of airless spraying, with a suction tube and return hose. Siphon mode, you will need 2 buckets. I prefer small 5-litre buckets and use a liner to save the washing out. You'll need PPE with appropriate filters. A2P3 covers my safety requirements. A number of adjustable wrenches. 2 will be sufficient. Water pump pliers can be handy. A brush for cleanup. Of course not for painting. Cloths. Masking paper to test. And masking tapes and products to mask the project. A waste disposal bag is handy. Paint strainers, especially if paint in the can is old. Or supermarket fruit and veg nets, they'll also work. Regarding filtration, you'll need the appropriate manifold and gun filters for your sprayer. Airless spray tips. Storage and maintenance fluids such as pump armour and TSL. I rate this household degreaser for general cleaning. Always stir your paint. And of course, a can opener. Is there anything you could recommend to help others? Please leave your comments. Let's begin. TSL, Graco Throat Seal Liquid. Helps extend the life of the piston pack-ins. You add to the middle opening, you'll see the liquid run into the reservoir below. Let's power up. This is the prime valve. Down to prime. And horizontal to spray. So in prime, paint is circulating the pump only via the return hose and picked up using the suction tube. Start off with the small bucket of water, placing the suction tube in the water and return hose over a clean bucket or cup. In prime, turn the pressure control dial. I'm demonstrating how much storage pump armour can be returned to the bottle. Around 5 fluid ounces, which is 150 ml. Using the waste bucket, let's continue with priming the pump with water. To prime the airless hose, switch the prime valve to spray. Remove the tip guard from the gun. Pulling the trigger over the waste bucket, turn the pressure control dial. Before going any further, it's important to understand the pressure relief procedure. If I pressurize the system, remember we've primed already with water. Simply turn the pressure control dial down to 0 and switch to prime. Pressure is dumped through the return hose. So before priming with paint, swap out any filters appropriate for the material and tip you're about to use. First the manifold. So in prime, unscrew the housing. Let's swap out this 60 mesh for a blue 100 mesh. Same in the gun. Swapping out the compact 60 mesh pencil filter for a 100 mesh filter. Let's add a tip guard and tip. Everything hand tight and aligned. This is a quick demonstration of what I would do if I was an absolute beginner, someone who hasn't triggered an airless gun before. Practice with water. Keeping the gun moving whilst triggering on and off. It's good practice. Don't just pull the trigger and move the gun over the whole project. Always trigger on and trigger off. Let's get prepared for paint. Perform pressure release. Drain as much water as possible from the suction tube. Add the suction tube to the paint. And with the return hose over the waste bucket, in Prime, turn the pressure control dial stop when paint is primed into the waste bucket. You can now clip the return hose to the suction tube. I prefer to clip it clear of the paint and keep it clean. With the tip guard removed, switch to spray, and with the trigger pulled and gun pointing over the waste bucket, turn the pressure control dial until paint exits the gun. Let's keep everything clean. Add the tip guard and tip. We don't need the waste bucket for now. So we're already in spray mode. Turn up the pressure, always starting low, but with a rough idea. I'm using low viscosity paint with an FFLP 208, so starting at 800 psi. We have tails, upping the pressure to 1000 psi. Still a bit taily. 1200 psi. And not much improvement, certainly versus 1000 psi. So golden rule is to up the tip orifice size. So an FFLP 210 at 800 psi. Let's try 800 psi again. One more. 210 at 800 psi is looking good. Notice more paint is let out. I may have to move the gun slightly quicker. I'm twisting the tip guard to spray horizontally. If you're taking a break, lock the trigger, twist the tip a quarter turn, and perform pressure release. Twisting the tip a quarter turn closes off the tip orifice. A clean tip guard is a good sign of effective low pressure spraying. Paint isn't bouncing back, we're reducing overspray and wasting less paint. If it's a hot day, a good tip is to wrap a wet cloth around the tip guard. I don't advise ever submerging the gun in water. This is what I do if changing material, like in this example, swapping from a primer to a top coat. Let as much paint drain back out of the suction tube. Add the suction tube to the bucket of water and return hose over the paint can. In prime, I turn the pressure control dial to prime the paint back to the can. Stop before water comes through. Now let's get the paint out of the hose. Remove the tip guard. Pull the trigger. Switch to spray and turn the pressure control dial. Stop when you hear and see a splatter. This indicates water is coming through. We're finished with the primer. And we'll need the waste bucket. Separate the return hose and clean as much paint from the suction tube and suction tube filter. With the return hose over the waste bucket, switch to prime and turn the pressure control dial. If you have a Graco Ultra XT, you can click into the Turbo Clean mode. Swap out for more clean water. Prime again. It's pretty clean already and good enough for a material change. If necessary, empty the waste bucket. Then when cleaning the hose, it's worth placing inside or use a bigger bucket. Switch to spray. With the trigger pulled and gun pointing over the waste bucket, turn the pressure control dial, and again, if you've got an Ultra XT, turn all the way into Turbo Clean. That's clean enough. Less than 5 litres, approximately 1 gallon, and it's clean. Switch to Prime and let's prepare the top coat. Drain as much water as possible. And place the suction tube into the paint. In Prime, with the return hose over the waste bucket, turn the pressure control dial until paint flows. Clip the return hose to the suction tube. With trigger pulled and switch to spray, point the gun over the waste bucket and turn the pressure control dial. Stop once paint starts to flow through the gun. Add the tip guard and tip. I'm going to use the same FFLP 210. Make sure everything is hand tight and aligned. So we're on spray. Turn the pressure control dial. I'm going to start at 800 psi and test. Always spray a test first. Let's try again. We're good to go. From that demonstration, going from pump armor in the Airless sprayer, then water, then primer, flushing through with water, then finally top coat, you'll perhaps understand that with Airless spray pumps, you're always chasing through a liquid or material, It's never a dry pump. Then it's just down to practice, setting up, choosing the appropriate spray tip, learning how materials spray, then effective masking of projects, and start spraying. It's not so scary. Like anything, keep practicing. Please like this video, comment your feedback, sharing any tips and advice with others. Also share this video and subscribe. It all helps support PaintHQ. Please consider super thanks or buy me a coffee. Link to buy me a coffee is in the video description. It all helps support the making of future videos. I want to thank you all for the support and kindness you've continued to show. I'm very humbled and find your support very motivating. My name is Pete. Thank you for watching.